Bon dia a tots i a totes. Tornem a ser aquí. Avui us presentem la sessió sobre estudis i oportunitats a Irlanda de les activitats que estem fent de Barcelona al món, liderat per l'assessoria de mobilitat internacional. Jo soc Ignasi González i juntament amb la meva companya Dàlia formem part de l'assessoria de mobilitat internacional dels punts InfoJove del Departament de Joventut de l'Ajuntament de Barcelona. Ara la Dàlia us explica una mica com funciona aquest servei i després tornarem.
Hola. Dintre de l'assessoria de mobilitat internacional realitzem assessorament personalitzat sobre temes com estudiar, fer pràctiques, fer un voluntariat, treballar a l'estranger. És un servei totalment gratuït i les assessories poden ser presencials i virtuals durant aproximadament uns 45 minuts. Així que si després o més endavant teniu dubtes o voleu ampliar informació o conèixer altres opcions per marxar a l'estranger, us animem a que contacteu amb l'assessoria per demanar cita prèvia. Teniu moltes maneres de fer-ho a través dels canals que veieu aquí sota o podeu fer a través dels punts InfoJove de Barcelona, teniu l'enllaç al banner, a través de WhatsApp i per correu electrònic. Podeu demanar cita, segur que teniu un punt a prop. I per a la sessió d'avui, superimportant, us animem a realitzar les vostres preguntes a través del Twitter o per YouTube, és a dir, des d'on ens estigueu veient en aquest moment, i tindrem un espai per poder-les respondre abans d'acabar la sessió.
Perfecte, gràcies, Dàlia. Aquesta sessió parlarem bàsicament del que és realitzar estudis superiors a Irlanda. Llavors comptarem amb la participació de diferents ponents. El primer serà en Barry O'Driscoll, d'Education in Ireland. La segona serà d'Erbla O'Reilly i la Kira Halliday, que són representants de dues de les universitats més importants i destacades d'Irlanda, com pot ser el Trinity College de Dublín i la Universitat de Limerick. Llavors, la primera part de la sessió la farem en castellà i la intervenció de les universitats serà en anglès, que serà la segona part. Llavors, d'aquí uns dies que sapigueu que posarem subtítols perquè no us perdeu cap informació rellevant de les ponents. Llavors, m'agradaria ara començar presentant el primer convidat, que és en Barry, que és el mànager regional d'Education in Ireland. Education in Ireland és una agència governamental que ofereix i promou tot el que és temes d'estudis a l'estranger, però sobretot estudis superiors a Irlanda. Llavors, començo a presentarlo. Bienvenido, Barry. Muchas gracias por estar hoy con nosotras y primero de todo me gustaría contextualizar un poco la sesión que queda grabada en YouTube y la realizamos hoy, día 2 de febrero de 2022. Bienvenido.
Bueno, y gracias por haber organizado ese webinar hoy. Me alegro de estar aquí para hablar un poco sobre Irlanda y por qué estudiar en Irlanda.
Perfecto, muchas gracias, Barry. Bueno, supongo que empezarás un poco explicando qué es Education Ireland y qué papel...
Sí, bueno, como has dicho, yo trabajo por Education Ireland, que es la agencia gubernamental que hace la promoción de Irlanda como lugar para estudiar en el nivel superior, o sea, en el nivel de licenciatura o maestría. Y con nosotros hoy hay dos de las universidades más importantes de Irlanda, el Trinity College Dublin y la Universidad de Limerick. Y mis compañeras esas podrían hablar más de los programas que se ofrecen y dar más información, más detalles sobre los requisitos y el nivel de inglés que falta. De mi parte, yo puedo explicar un poco en general por qué estudiar en Irlanda. Bueno, cada año llegan más o menos 40,000 estudiantes internacionales para estudiar en las universidades de Irlanda. Vienen de todas partes de Europa, claro, por el programa de Erasmus, pero también vienen bastantes estudiantes de, por ejemplo, Estados Unidos, Canadá, el Medio Oriente, de India, de Asia. Y además de esas 40,000 estudiantes internacionales vienen, bueno, antes de la pandemia venían 120,000 estudiantes internacionales para hacer el inglés, para estudiar solamente el inglés. Pero por hoy vamos a hablar lo de la educación superior. Entonces, en Irlanda, en las ciudades, se ve siempre muy joven, muy cosmopolita, porque tenemos esos gran números de estudiantes internacionales. Y también es interesante porque Irlanda, de hecho, tenemos la población de jóvenes más grande proporcionadamente de la Unión Europea. Así que eso también es interesante. Pero no es un país muy grande. Tenemos una población total de 5 millones de personas en todo el país. Entonces, cuando hablamos de las grandes universidades de Irlanda, hablamos de las ciudades de Dublín, la capital en el este del país, luego la ciudad de Cork en el sur, y luego las dos ciudades en el oeste de Irlanda, por la costa atlántica, Limerick y Galway. Y mi agencia gubernamental, Education in Ireland, representamos 30 instituciones de educación superior de Irlanda. Y en nuestro sitio de web, que se puede ver ahí, se puede ver un perfil de cada universidad en Irlanda con más información, con más detalles de contacto. Y también se puede ver una mapa de Irlanda que indica dónde se encuentran todas las instituciones por todo Irlanda. Entonces, ¿por qué elegir Irlanda para estudiar? Primera cosa que diría es que Irlanda es un país angloparlante, claro, y después de la salida del Reino Unido de la Unión Europea, Irlanda queda el único país angloparlante en la Unión. Y eso es interesante porque hoy día hay más y más gente por todas partes que quieren buscar hacer todos sus estudios universitarios en inglés. Y naturalmente Irlanda es una buena opción. Tenemos una tradición muy fuerte de educación y un sistema educativo de muy alta calidad. Y vamos a hablar en más detalle con las universidades de Trinity College y Universidad de Limerick. Pero algo que es muy importante también sobre Irlanda es que las instituciones de educación superior están muy fuertemente conectadas a la industria. O sea que todos los programas tienen oportunidades de prácticos. Son muy prácticos en el nivel de licenciatura y maestría también. Y luego, después de los estudios, hay un montón de oportunidades de carrera. ¿Por qué? Porque Irlanda es el centro europeo para más de 1,000 empresas multinacionales. Tenemos una economía muy dinámica y buscamos siempre graduados calificados en Irlanda. Y, por ejemplo, Irlanda es conocida como el Silicon Valley de Europa porque es un gran centro de tecnologías de información y de la comunicación. Tenemos 9 de las 10 principales compañías internacionales de tecnología. Por ejemplo, el Facebook, Google, Twitter, IBM, Apple, Microsoft, todos tienen sus sedes europeos en Irlanda. También 8 de las 10 principales compañías farmacéuticas globales están aquí y 6 de las 7 principales compañías de diagnósticos. Entonces, hay un montón de oportunidades en cualquier sector. 50% de las firmas de servicios financieros también están aquí en Irlanda. Entonces, lo que digo que las instituciones son muy bien conectadas con la industria. Entonces, en ese caso, los graduados tienen muchas oportunidades de empezar la carrera en Irlanda. También otra cosa que es interesante es que Irlanda ofrece a los estudiantes internacionales la capacidad de trabajar a tiempo parcial mientras estudian. Así si así lo desean. Y tenemos aquí, de hecho, el salario mínimo, el segundo más alto en toda Europa, con 10,50 euros por hora. Eso también es muy útil por estudiantes si quieren también trabajar a tiempo parcial. Entonces, sí, eso es una de las razones que Irlanda está muy atractiva para estudiantes internacionales y sí, tal vez podemos luego hablar en más detalle con el Trinity College Dublin y la Universidad de Limerick.
Gracias, Barry. Te quería preguntar sobre requisitos de acceso para estudiantes internacionales, aunque ya has dicho que solamente las universidades que participarán ahora nos darán un poquito más detalle, pero si sabes, ¿no?, un poco los requisitos generales para estudiantes.
Sí, normalmente el nivel de inglés falta 6,5 en el IELTS. Eso depende, puede ser 6 o 6,5 de IELTS. Luego, por la maestría, el estudiante postula directamente a la universidad, pero por la licenciatura se va en un sistema central de Irlanda que se llama CAO. Hay un sistema de aplicación que acepta todas las aplicaciones para la licenciatura.
Y, por ejemplo, en el caso de que hay estudiantes internacionales que no tengan este nivel, ¿hay algún tipo de soporte para que consigan el nivel adecuado para acceder?
Sí, hay también programas para mejorar el inglés antes de empezar, la licenciatura. Normalmente, por la maestría, el estudiante debe tener ya el nivel de inglés, pero es cierto, por la licenciatura hay un programa que se puede ayudar a mejorar el inglés antes de empezar la licenciatura.
De acuerdo. Y el proceso de solicitud, la application, ¿cómo funciona? ¿Hay una plataforma general? ¿Qué datos importantes tenemos que tener en cuenta para hacer la solicitud?
Sí, hay un sistema general, central, que el estudiante lo hace online. Normalmente se hace antes de mayo para empezar en septiembre de cada año. Pero mejor hablar directamente con las universidades para saber más.
De acuerdo, vale. Ahora, te quería preguntar sobre el tema de la matrícula, ¿no? El tuition, los precios, digamos, ¿no? El presupuesto que hay que tener en cuenta para querer estudiar en Irlanda y cuál sería el coste medio más o menos.
Sí, más o menos debería ser entre 5 y 8 mil euros por año. Sí. Depende de la programa. Y diría que también los gastos de vivir sería entre 8 y 12 mil euros anuales. También depende la ciudad, depende el estilo de vida del estudiante. Entonces, sí, entre 5 y 8 para el programa y luego entre 8 y 12 para los gastos de vivir.
Vale, ¿y habían algún tipo de becas disponibles, ¿no? Ya sea a nivel estatal o becas que pueden acceder solo estudiantes internacionales, por ejemplo?
Bueno, becas normalmente son para estudiantes que vienen fuera de Europa y también la mayoría están por el nivel de maestría. Por la licenciatura de estudiantes europeos no tenemos muchas becas, no.
Vale.
Sí.
No sé si quieres añadir alguna cosita más en tu intervención o porque si no ya pasaremos a...
Bueno, solo para visitar nuestro sitio de web, porque tenemos mucha información ahí sobre las 30 instituciones de educación superior por todas partes de Irlanda y para saber más lo que Irlanda ofrece como programas.
Claro, porque ahora estamos dando pues, información general, ¿no? Dependerá mucho de cada universidad, de cada zona del país, ¿no? De cada localidad. Entonces, a partir de aquí, esto es un comienzo, por si estáis interesados, interesadas en empezar a buscar estudios en Irlanda, pues tenéis Education in Ireland. Aquí tenéis el sitio web y cualquier duda que tengáis, pues nos podéis hacer llegar a través de la asesoría. Entonces, pues muchísimas gracias, Barry, por estar con nosotras hoy y nada, encantados de tenerte aquí. Ahora pasamos a la segunda parte de la sesión, que la realizará Dalia. Hola, Dalia.
Hola,
con el tema de las universidades. Gràcies.
Sí, gràcies Ignasi, gràcies Barry. Ara tenim l'oportunitat de conèixer dues de les més importants universitats d'Irlanda, el Trinity College de Dublín i la Universitat de Limerick. Avui ens acompanyen les persones referents del procés d'admissió d'estudiants europeus i europees i podem comptar amb la participació de la Deirdre O'Reilly del Trinity College i la Kira Halliday de la Universitat de Limerick. Tindrem una primera part en la qual les universitats ens presentaran els seus programes acadèmics, les característiques clau i els requisits per sol·licitar una plaça. I aquesta part serà en anglès i afegirem subtítols més endavant i us animem a fer totes les preguntes que teniu al xat de YouTube i a través del Twitter. Podeu fer les preguntes en l'idioma en el qual us sentiu més còmodes i, si fa falta, nosaltres les traduirem per a les ponents. Comencem amb la Deirdre O'Reilly, directora regional del sector Europa del Trinity College Dublin. La Deirdre va estudiar enginyeria civil al Trinity College, va treballar a Regne Unit i va viatjar durant 18 mesos abans de tornar a Irlanda i ara mateix dona suport als i les joves estudiants d'Irlanda, del Regne Unit i dels països de la Unió Europea que es plantegen estudiar al Trinity College. La Deirdre ens ajudarà a descobrir tot el que necessitem si volem estudiar al Trinity College. A l'enllaç que veieu a sota hi podeu trobar totes les informacions i tots els requisits d'admissió. Us podeu apuntar als seminaris virtuals que la universitat organitza i si voleu fer un postgrau podeu reservar també una cita per fer una reunió personalitzada. Hello, Deirdre. Thank you for taking part in this session. We are very happy to have you here. And we would like to ask you to guide us in discovering Trinity College and all the things we need to know if we are interested in studying there.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dalia, and good morning, everybody. So my name is Deirdre, as Dalia mentioned, and I am the regional manager for Europe for Trinity College in Dublin. Basically, we are in the city centre in Dublin. We are over 425 years old, so we've been around for quite some time. In terms of what we have on offer in Trinity, we have over 18,000 students from all over the world, and so as Barry mentioned, we have quite international campuses and we have lots of opportunities for studying abroad as well. So Trinity is actually ranked the most international university in Europe and the 8th most international university in the world. So not only do we have students coming from all over the world, but we have lots of connections in terms of Erasmus and study abroad. So you can go to almost 300 different exchange partners, so lots of opportunities. In terms of what we have on offer, we have 3 different faculties. So we have arts, humanities and social sciences, STEM and health sciences. And within those, we have over 150 different undergraduate degree courses. So quite a lot to choose from there. So we have a range of business courses, a range of law courses, philosophy, sociology, psychology, a range of languages courses. And for all of our languages courses, you would study abroad in that language. And for any course that doesn't contain language as part of it, and you can study abroad in English or in another language. So kind of lots of choice there. And most of our courses are 4 years. And then you have the opportunity to choose electives outside of your area in your 2nd or 3rd year. And then the opportunity to study abroad for a semester or a year also in your 3rd year. So within arts and humanities, the main kind of style of teaching is a mixture of lectures and tutorials. So you're in small discussion groups, you get to know your classmates quite well, you get to know the professors quite well, which is really nice. Then our next faculty that we have is STEM. So within that, you can do maths as a single or joint honours course. We have a range of computer science options. So you can do that as a single or a joint honours option. So you can do it with linguistics and a language. You can do, say, computer science and geography if you're interested in kind of the big data related to kind of climate change, things like that. And then we have MSIS, which is Management Science and Information System Studies. And if you're looking at the kind of business and tech aspects of different industries. And then within engineering, which is what I studied, so I'm very biased. It's a great course. And within engineering, we have several different disciplines of engineering. So you start with a common entry, and then you specialize from your third year onwards. So we offer civil, structural, and environmental altogether, mechanical, electronic, computer, or combination of a couple of those. Then we have an environmental science and engineering course as well. And then within science, we have 4 core strands of science. So biology, chemistry, geography, or physics. Kind of similar to engineering, you do 2 general years at the start, and where you kind of try a little bit of everything. You have a mixture of lectures and labs and tutorials. So you're applying what you're learning as you go along. And then at the end of your second year, you specialize in your chosen discipline. And then our last faculty that we have would be health sciences. So kind of similar to STEM, you do a mixture of lectures and labs and tutorials, but you also do clinical placements as part of our health science courses. And the great thing about that is you kind of get your own patients, you're kind of supervised quite a lot at the start, and then you get more responsibility and longer placements as you go through the course. And so in terms of what we offer medicine as a full degree. You can do human health and disease, human nutrition and dietetics. We have a range of nursing courses, and then we have a range of other kind of physiotherapy, radiation therapy, clinical speech and language. So really quite a lot to choose from within health science as well. So I suppose that's the kind of the academic side of your college experience. We've also got lots of other things on offer too. So kind of Barry mentioned earlier in the kind of video that we have lots of industry connections. And I suppose within about a 5-minute walk of Trinity, you've got the European headquarters of Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, HubSpot, Huawei. And we have kind of connections with industry within the college, which you would have seen in the video had it worked, but sure, that's fine. And then kind of outside of the class, you also got the opportunity to do, if you have like an idea for a business or anything like that, we've got student incubators and accelerator programs if that's something you'd be interested in doing. And then in terms of social activity, we have so many fun activities that you can get involved in. So we have over 170 different clubs and societies, and you can be like a beginner that wants to try something new right through to an elite athlete. And we have kind of a range of opportunities to support you and to be able to engage in those. So lots of fun to be had both in and outside of the classroom, which is really nice. And I think from my own time in Trinity, I think my extracurricular activities really enhanced my whole student experience. And the fact that we're in the city centre means that you can do lots of activities on campus, but you can also say go up Grafton Street, which is our main shopping street right beside the university. We have all our kind of main galleries, National Library, national museums that are outside, just outside as well. So even if you've got a break between lectures, there are kind of lots of activities that you can get involved in. And in terms of applying, Barry has mentioned it already. So you apply through a centralised system, which is the CAO. And if you go onto our website in Trinity, www.tcd.ie, if you go to the one that's on the screen now, for Spain, it will give you entry requirements specifically for Spain, and then it will link you through, if you click on undergraduate, to our CAO page. And we do webinars quite regularly. They're a little bit longer than this, so you can kind of get a full sense of everything that's on offer in Trinity. So I think that probably has given you kind of a general sense of what it's like. I'd welcome you to come on to our page for Spain to see your specific entry requirements, and to our CAO page, which I think the link will come up with too. And that will give you an opportunity to kind of engage a little bit more. And we've also got student ambassadors on that page. And so there's a little chat bubble. And if you click on that, you can talk to students from a range of different courses. So you can get a sense from them as to what it's like. So you can talk to students that are from Spain and to talk about their experience as a Spanish student coming to Ireland and coming to Trinity specifically. So yeah, we'd welcome you to come on, chat to us, chat to our students. We'd be really happy to talk to you and tell you more. So apologies, the slides didn't work. Hopefully I did not speak too quickly and that you could take it all in. And I do welcome any questions.
Thank you, Deirdre. That was amazing. I also have a question for you, because in terms of types of degrees you offer, I suppose you have bachelor's programs, master's programs, doctorate programs. Do you have also associate degrees, for example, top-ups degrees? If you can just explain a couple of things about this, about the offer.
We actually don't. So that's kind of less common in Ireland. So normally what you would have in Irish universities, you would have like a level 7 course, so kind of an ordinary level degree. And then you would have a level 8, which would be a bachelor's degree. We don't tend to do ones where you can do like an articulation agreement or anything where you start a degree somewhere else and top up here. And that's not something we do kind of within the EU. So yeah, you would be applying for your full degree. Most of our courses in Trinity are level 8 degrees. So on the CAO application, you get up to 10 choices for level 8 degrees and up to 10 choices for level 7 degrees. So you can have up to 20 choices on your application, and it's one application for EU applicants. So you could potentially apply for some courses in Trinity, some courses in UL, and in the other universities that Barry mentioned as well, in Galway and Cork and so on. So if you're particularly interested in one subject area, for example, say business, you could apply for business in all of the different universities and see where you get in. If you're particularly interested in one university, you could do all of your choices in that university, if that makes sense.
Okay. Do you have any important advice for a young person who is considering Trinity College to study in Ireland?
Sure. I mean, I suppose I'd give the same advice to anyone considering anywhere, but I would just say kind of do your research. So get as much of a sense as you can as to what the university is like. So like I mentioned, we have student ambassadors. The great thing about them is they're online. So you can talk to them from Spain, especially if you wanted to talk to someone else Spanish to get a sense of what their experience is like. We have open days once a year. I'd recommend coming along to the open day, because then you can talk directly to our professors and get a sense of what college is like. And then for the CAO application, we just recommend that you put your courses in genuine order of preference is always our recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Deirdre. You are going to stay with us until the end of the session, and you will help us answer the questions of the prospective students that are now watching the session. And I will now introduce Kira Holiday from the University of Limerick. La Deirdre es quedarà amb nosaltres fins al final de la sessió, ens ajudarà a respondre a les vostres preguntes, i ara tenim l'oportunitat de conèixer una altra universitat important d'Irlanda, l'Universitat de Limerick. Limerick és la tercera ciutat de la República d'Irlanda, al sud del país, i avui contem amb la participació de la Kira Holiday, que és la cap d'admissions d'estudiants de la Unió Europea a l'Universitat de Limerick, on ella mateixa va estudiar ciències empresarials i francès. Després d'haver treballat a França i al Canadà, ara el seu paper és donar suport als estudiants d'Europa que es plantegen estudiar el grau o el postgrau a la Universitat de Limerick. Si us voleu posar en contacte amb el Servei d'Admissions per a Estudiants de la Unió Europea de la Universitat de Limerick, podeu escriure a l'adreça que veieu al banner. I hello, Kira. We are very glad to have you here. As you know, this session is meant for young people interested in studying in Ireland who are considering different universities for their studies. And finding information and guidance in this process is essential. So it would be great if you could help us in getting to know all the key aspects to take into account if someone is considering the University of Limerick as their future university.
Absolutely. So I'll try and share my slides now, and we'll see how that goes.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
We can see them.
Brilliant. So, well, thanks to Deirdre, because I think, like anything, Ireland is a small place, and this is very much a study in Ireland type event. So I think Deirdre covered loads there. But to just give you a little bit of a taste of the other side of Ireland, because as Dalia said, we are on the west coast. So if you were to look at us on a map, do I have control over? Oh, perfect. Perfect. So on a map, you'll see on the east coast there is County Dublin, and that's where Trinity is. And then we are almost on the opposite side on the west. So Limerick is Ireland's third largest city and has a population of 100,000 in the city centre and then about 160,000 around the outside of the city. The great thing about Limerick is that the population of the county is actually 50% is under the age of 35. So it's really young and vibrant city. I'm obviously biased because I'm from nearby and I studied in UL, but I do think it's something worth sharing with everybody. And Limerick is a great place from which to discover the rest of Ireland, because we're about an hour and a half from Galway, an hour and a half from Cork, and then about 2 hours, 2.5 hours from Dublin. We're also right beside Shannon Airport, just 30 minutes out the road, and you're less than an hour away from the Wild Atlantic Way. So if you're interested in the cliffs and hiking and heading out to see some of the islands, that's our really rugged landscape and a really beautiful place to be nearby to. So as I said, the city is really young and vibrant. It's a modern city, but where modern is right alongside the medieval past. So you could visit on the weekend a medieval castle. There'd be beautiful street art right beside it. There's a great music scene in Limerick with lots of places to go and see live music, especially now that things are opening back up again. And all of it's in this great compact city centre. And then in the outskirts, in the county of Limerick, there's loads of places for hiking, golf, mountain biking, and just discovering nature and being close to it. So the great thing about Limerick, I suppose, in that it's not a capital city, is that it's a great combination of being able to do a bit of everything and have your modern and cool shops and pubs and restaurants, but also at a very affordable price. So to give you a bit of a glance at UL itself, so we have 17,000 students with over 100 countries represented between staff and students. We're nowhere near as old as Trinity. We're celebrating our 50th birthday this year, so there should be some great events and excitement on campus. And then the actual campus, so it's about 5 kilometres outside of the city centre of Limerick. An easy cycle path connects the city out to UL, and it's on 366 acres of land. So as you can see, that's just a small snippet of it there, but it's on a gorgeous campus. And we have 8 dedicated villages of accommodation for students. So there's one of them up there in the top right, but those provide bedrooms for 3,000 students and staff. So it's always worthwhile, though. Our applications do open in February, just to let you know. So whenever you decide you're coming to UL, we would recommend, once you get your offer letter, to start looking at accommodation. So there's just a few more photos of our lovely campus, but in the same way that Trinity does, in the same way that all of the universities would in Ireland, there's a great support network there for all students too. We have doctors, nurses, counsellors, chaplain, disability office on campus. And for all international students who come in, and Irish students, we do an orientation week for everybody so that you know where you're going before you start your classes. And we have a program called First 7 Weeks, which I think is something really helpful, in particular to international students, because rather than giving you all of the information in one go, we spread it out over 7 weeks. So the first week might be understanding your timetable. The second week might be understanding the library. And it's a great way to just get to know the campus, but not too much information at one time. So a little bit about UL itself. The Times Higher Education Young University World Ranking of 2021 puts us in the 100 to 150 bracket. I'll go into employment a little bit later, but 96% of UL's graduates are employed or conducting further study. And over 2,000 students are in internships or work placements through UL each year. And our most recent piece of news is that our Chemie Business School is now in the top 1% of business schools because it's reached triple accreditation. So down to our actual courses. Again, here's our 4 faculties. So science and engineering, which covers each of your engineering type programs, also your architecture, computer engineering and computer science. The education and health sciences would cover our medicine programs. We're the first medical school in Ireland since 1900. That also covers the physical education and sports sciences, which is always a very popular program because UL is known as the sporting campus and has a huge arena, 50-meter swimming pool, track, lots of facilities there. And of course, that covers your general nursing and midwifery type programs. And then arts and business. So the arts, if you do your general Bachelor of Arts, for example, you have a choice of 16 modules, be that in the languages or across your history, sociology, psychology type modules. You can get a real piece of everything in there. And then business, accounting and finance, economics, your usual. I would also add in risk and insurance in there. So it's similar to, as Dervla explained earlier, for business and for science and engineering, your first 2 years would be more general, where everybody is doing the same type lectures, the same modules. And then as you go into, depending on the course, but you're either the end of your second year or the start of your third year would be when you start to specialize in a subject of your choice. Because each of the courses is different and each of them would have slightly different entry requirements, the best thing to do is really to go to that website that I have at the top of the slide there, which is ul.ie/courses. And you can search your course there if you know what it is you want to do, or you can look at them alphabetically. And that will give you all of the information, an overview of the course, the modules you'll study, in what semesters and what years, the fees, if there are any scholarships associated with that course specifically. And there's also a great section on future careers. So it gives you an idea what kind of career you're aiming towards if you're taking on any of these degrees. And there's also lots of testimonials there from current students and alumni. So they give their information on what jobs they're in and how they got from day one of their degree to where they are now. Sorry, just to go back on that then, fees wise as well, that's all in our on the website, and for each of the courses you'll find it. But generally the science and engineering would be from about 6,500 per academic year. The education and health sciences courses would be from about 7,400. And then the arts and business degrees are closer to 5,600 per academic year for undergraduate. And as mentioned earlier, so I'm going to focus mostly on level 8, which would be your full bachelor's degree, but we do offer in UL everything from level 5 to level 9. So level 9 would be your master's or your postgraduate. But level 5, we run an international foundation program. So this is for students like you, if you don't necessarily have the qualifications that are required in the entry requirements for the course of your choice, or if you think you need to boost your English for a year in advance, you can apply to do this course. It gives you a taste of UL, a taste of the course, and should give you all of the language skills that you'll need to be able to fully take on your degree. And then the level 8, so ours are also 4 years in duration. This is because in the arts courses, it's compulsory to do study abroad, to do a placement in another partner university. For the other courses, it's not compulsory, but it is highly encouraged, because who doesn't want to see another country and experience another culture and how things are done in another university? So similarly, we would have larger lectures, again, depending on your course, but generally then smaller group tutorials where you can ask your questions and get some more one-on-one time with the academics. We also have great links with industry and the professions, as do the other universities in Ireland. But there's so many situations where your professor has worked and brings their information back into the university, and it's great to learn from them. And we'd have a very easygoing first name terms type of relationship with the professors in UL. The reason they're 4 years as well is that every course in undergraduate has to do 8 months of a work placement in your area of study. So I'll go into that in just a second. But again, just to give you the entry requirements, as I said, the best place is to really go to the course you're interested in on our website, and you'll find there all of the entry requirements. But you do have to apply as European students through the CAO. And the final date to get your application in is the 1st of May. So now is a really good time to be thinking about it. You have 3 months to look across all the universities and all the courses and make your decisions. And generally, it's an IELTS of 6.5 for most of our courses. But again, check the course because they could have different entry requirements for languages. And then the big sell for us is that, again, every course has to do a work placement. So you go out and you gain those hands-on skills in the workplace. And it's mandatory for all undergraduate students. It takes 1 semester, so 6 to 8 months, could run into your summertime. And it's across all faculties and now across 27 countries. So I, for example, studied business and French in UL. In my 2nd year, I studied in a French university. And then in my 3rd year, I worked in Paris in a firm in marketing and communications. So it's really wonderful when you get to your final year and you're putting your CV together and you have great experience to put down there. So UL graduates are among the most employable. We're recognized by employers as having these skills and having done this on-the-job experience during our degree. So we are ranked in the top 200 global universities for graduate employability. And UL has great links to many of the multinationals who are in Ireland because, again, most of them are in Dublin, but a lot of them also have a plant in Limerick and within the very close environs of the UL campus. So lots of opportunity there. And here's just some of the examples of the places where students have done either their work placement or have gone on to work with those companies. So I don't want to keep you here forever. I didn't even get to start talking about the 80 plus clubs and societies, everything from trampoline club to dance to outdoor pursuits. We have a huge international society, and it's a really great society to be part of because every Friday there's a night out on campus and there's lots of weekends way organized, so you get to see a bit of Ireland while you're living here. But we will be hosting a Future Students webinar on the 16th of February. So if you think of any questions in the meantime between now and then, or if you want to hear a little bit more about the kind of fun social side, the living in Limerick side, or specifically about a course, we'd be very happy to have you join us there. So again, if you go to ul.ie/global, you'll find all of this. And we too have ambassadors, blogs and testimonials. So you can see there anybody from across Europe or the world who's come to study in Ireland. And just one last thing for anyone who does apply to Limerick, we have now signed up to Campus Connect, which is an app you get on your phone. And it's basically like a WhatsApp group, but that's a really great way to kind of make friends and get a community before you arrive over, because you can join a group of students coming from Spain, join a group of students studying business, or there's different groups for life in Limerick and adventures around Ireland. So we would highly encourage that too once people have an offer. But that's it really. My contact details are there on the last slide. And if there's anything you think of, or I can't answer now when Dalia asks me questions, I'd be very happy to come back to you at a later time. So our social media is there. It's all at UL Global. But if TikTok is more your style, there is an at University of Limerick TikTok, which is actually great because there's lots of videos of the campus. So it gives you a real idea of, again, Limerick, the city and the campus. So we hope to see you there.
Thank you, Kira. This was really insightful. Thank you. Also, thank you for the information about the webinar, because I think it will be very useful for our listeners. I just wanted to ask you a very quick question. That is, if you have something that our listeners should take into account in the admission process, if you have any advice about this.
Yeah, well, I think it's exactly as Dervla said earlier. You do have to do your homework and you have to be very organized about it. As explained, you can have 10 level 8, which is your degree, and you can list 10 level 7. You can technically change your mind until the start of July, but it's better if you've got your preferences in May, because then you know what you're working towards with your final exams. And like that, then there's just no stress during the summer. You've kind of got your plan ahead of you. But there's a big booklet that the Central Applications Office, the CAO, have done, and there's a specific section on Spain. So like that, if you're just very careful and take your time and go through it all, it should be well laid out. But also, I would just encourage, if you have any questions, if you're not sure of anything, definitely just contact the university that you're applying to, because that's why we have our international teams and our admissions teams there to help with those type of questions.
Okay, thank you, Kira. You are going to stay with us until the end of the session too, and you will help us to answer the questions of the audience. I la Kira també es quedarà amb nosaltres fins al final de la sessió i podrà respondre les vostres preguntes. I li passo la paraula a l'Ignasi ara per si hi ha preguntes.
Hola, gràcies, Dàlia. Bueno, de moment tenim una pregunta de les xarxes socials. Vale, la tenim aquí. Buenos días, gracias por el webinar. Una consulta del tema de alojamiento para estudiantes y el tema de becas para estudios. ¿Hay recursos? So, this question will be for both of us. It's about, for three of us, sorry. Three of you, about scholarships and if there's any place to stay.
Yeah, so I mean, I can jump in there. Scholarships are generally on the course, so specific to the course. So again, the best place would be if you wanted to study European studies at the University of Limerick, would be to look up that course, and it will tell you there what options are available to you in terms of scholarships. And then accommodation for UL, we have 8 on-campus villages and can house 3,000 students and staff. There's also a number outside of the campus. So on campus would start from about €4,500. That's for your high-speed internet, your private bedroom, a desk, and then shared living space. And then the costs go up depending on whether you have an ensuite or the number of roommates. But of course, there's always off-campus options, which you can access through our website too. And they'd work out a bit cheaper generally, but you'd have to do that yourself through the application on the accommodation site.
Yeah, so we've kind of got something similar, I suppose, and that we have accommodation on campus itself, and that tends to be for kind of final year students or students that are quite involved in clubs and societies. But then we have kind of almost separate student village that's specifically for first years, and we have 1,000 students there, and they tend to be kind of like apartment style living, and so you'll have either your own bedroom or a twin room with an ensuite, and then 5 or 6 students will share a kitchen and a living room, and then they have lots of shared social spaces in terms of small gyms, study spaces, social spaces, things like that. And some of the second year students stay on after first year to organise social activities for the first years. Kind of similar to what Kira was saying, you can actually apply for the accommodation earlier than you get your offers. So you can apply for accommodation between March and May, and then you get a conditional offer of your accommodation, and it becomes a firm offer once you get your MCAO offer. And then in terms of scholarships, it's kind of similar to what Kira was saying, in that like some of our they're actually prizes more in our case. So if you do well in certain subjects or in certain exams, there are kind of prizes that go with those. And then our main scholarships are optional exams you can sit in the middle of your second year, and they examine you in everything you've done for the first year and a half. And if you're successful in those, so if you get 70% or above, you get up to 5 years free accommodation, 5 years free fees, free food every day, things like that. And so it's quite a generous scholarship, and it would cover you for your third and fourth year of your undergraduate degree and then postgraduate study as well. So that we'd always kind of recommend students do those, but they are optional extra exams.
Ok, thank you very much. Tenim una altra pregunta, que és si és possible accedir a la universitat amb un grau de formació professional. So, they are asking about how it works the admission through a higher education diploma or BEd degree.
So potentially, if people were interested and they had done some higher education already, you could potentially apply for what's called advanced entry, where you're applying to start after first year, if you know what I mean. And that is assessed individually by course. And what they'll do is they'll look at what you've covered so far. They'll compare it to the curriculum of the course that you want to do and see if they align well and how well you've done in it, and if there's space available in the class, and people can potentially apply that way. If people are interested in that, we would recommend that they kind of have an informal chat with the course director to start with, to see if the course they have done is a good match for the course they're planning to go into, and how feasible it is that there would be a space available in that.
I have nothing to add.
Ok. No sé si tenim més preguntes per aquí. Dàlia, no sé si tu vols fer alguna pregunta. Is there any questions?
Jo tinc una pregunta més. I have another question if I can ask it. The question is if there are any courses, any degrees that have a numerus clausus, a limited number of students that are admitted to that course?
So for all of the universities in Ireland, we would have a quota in terms of CAO applicant numbers, and they would normally, they're different scales of classes, I suppose. So they range from quite small to much larger. In most cases, in the prospectus, it will tell you the size of the class in it. I know it does in ours anyway. It gives the CAO code and it gives the number of spaces available. In Trinity, they range from quite small classes. So the smallest ones would have like maybe 7 or 8 in them if they're like for a particular language, but they range right up to 236 would be our biggest class. And so that gives an idea of scale. But kind of the smaller class would have kind of 40 to 60 in them, and the larger ones would have about 180 to about 200-ish.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a last question. Just, do you have any tool to predict the cost of living or tuition fee for international students?
I don't know if we have a tool as such, but again, the Education in Ireland website have a page on that. So that's good because it's kind of a general overview. And then we would as well, it would be something that we'd cover in UL/global and in the webinar. So I'm sure it's the same. I see Dervla nodding her head. And it's obviously so hard to tell, but we can help with what accommodation would be and a general estimation of what your living costs would be. But that's how much you want to travel and go out versus maybe being a bit more studious in Ireland. But yeah, they'll be on each of the websites. And I think that one is a good one to ask the ambassadors too, because they've lived there and done that. So we might be a little bit out of touch with how much things cost or what money's being spent on. But the ambassadors have just done it. They'll tell you if they had a part-time job to help fund their studies or if they didn't need it. So I think that's a good one really to give to those guys.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that Ciara has said there. I think it is really helpful to talk to current students to get a sense, and then all of us would have the fees for accommodation are very transparent in terms of how much they cost. And then I suppose students balance it out sometimes, that if they want to live further from the university, the accommodation is likely to be cheaper, but then they have to factor in transport costs or if they want to cycle and so on. And so I think some of it's based on lifestyle choices or how much they want to cook themselves or not. So yeah, I think that kind of varies a little bit from student to student, but the student ambassadors are a really good source of information if they've got a similar lifestyle to the prospective students.
Okay, so I think that we don't have any questions. So let's finish this session for today. We really appreciate your interventions, your cooperation with us. We are so happy to have you all, and see you the next time.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Gràcies.
Molt bé, doncs ja tenim la sessió d'avui. Esperem que us hagi agradat. Agrair molt la participació d'Education in Ireland, el Trinity College i la Universitat de Limerick. També un especial agraïment a l'Alba, la nostra companya de comunicació, que ha fet possible aquesta sessió. I res, donem per finalitzat la sessió d'avui. Us animem a que seguiu la resta d'activitats que fem de Barcelona al món. I recordeu també que el dia 15 i 16 de febrer, si no m'equivoco, farem el cicle de pràctiques també online, on tindrem diferents entitats que parlant sobre fer pràctiques a l'estranger amb diferents programes i espero que no us la perdeu, que tingueu present aquestes sessions i que ens veiem a la pròxima.
Moltes gràcies.
Que vagi bé. Adéu, adéu.
Adéu.